from glory to glory, as we look into your face, and the world no longer holds us, as we sing Amazing Grace. Welcome today to Proverbs for Successful Living with Ty and Betsy Tice. We are reading a portion out of Proverbs chapter 13. We're actually going to be looking at verses 20 through 25, and we are reading from the Passion Translation. Betsy, if you would start with verse 1, and then afterwards, I'm going to comment on it, or I'm going to ask you to comment on it. If you have something, please step in, and we thank you very much. Sweetheart?
If you want to grow in wisdom, spend time with the wise. Walk with the wicked, and you'll eventually become just like them.
I thought back to my youth, and it was very interesting. I was in middle school. Back then, they called it junior high, and it was in San Jose, California. And you could tell what part the person belonged to by what they dressed. To be very honest, I was a nerd. And yes, I did have a pocket protector, as we all did back in those days. If you were to walk across the street during lunchtime or during the recess break, there was basically two cafes that accommodated us. One was for the Latinos, and you could be sure that the girls were dressed in full skirts and blouses, and the guys with jeans and a white t-shirt. I mean, those t-shirts were so white, the sun would glare off of them. I could never figure out how they did that because every time I wore a t-shirt, it turned gray. With the other group, it was basically the other kids that were not Latino, and they basically dressed as the 50s, 60s kids dressed in those days. And I'm talking about real early 60s, not the latter part of the 60s and the hippie generation. But you could tell by how they dressed. And guess what? The way they dressed was also the way they acted. There was prescribed actions prescribed from both. So as this scripture says here, walk with the wicked, and you will eventually become just like them.
Calamity chases the sin chaser, but prosperity pursues the God lover.
Wow. Stop and think about that, my friend. If you're walking in sin, guess what chases you? Calamity. That's almost funny when you think of it. You know, I'm in sin, and everything wrong is coming after me. But if you're pursuing God, you're a God lover, prosperity is chasing after you. Woohoo! I think I want to become a God lover.
I can't help but think about those who are addicted to anything. Of course, they're not going to be prosperous. And indeed, if they're like addicted to drugs highly, they're probably going to have to go into a life of crime.
And that brings us to verse 22, which I think is so great. The benevolent, honey,
Benevolent.
thank you, man leaves an inheritance that endures to his children's children, but the wealth of the wicked is treasured up for the righteous. Remember, Betsy just said that they lose everything? Yeah, that's because God has restored it for the righteous people. And at the same time, the benevolent man leaves his inheritance not only to his children, but to his children's children.
The lovers of God will live a long life and get to enjoy their wealth, but the ungodly will suddenly perish.
I think of godly men and women today in their 80s, 90s, hundreds, and I myself am approaching those numbers quite quickly. It seems like every day is a couple minutes long and it's already the next day. But long life was promised us by the Lord. But I see so many that have been television stars that have lived notorious lives in 50, 60 years of age, and they're dead. And it's sad because it didn't have to be that way.
If you withhold correction and punishment from your children, you demonstrate a lack of true love. So prove your love and be prompt to punish them.
When we talk about punishing a child, we're not talking about child abuse, but what we're talking about is giving an ample punishment for the wrong that was done. Beloved, if you don't do that, you end up with kids in middle school totally out of control, beating their teachers like we just saw on the television this morning watching the news. And this kid, Mary, beat his teacher. For what? For no reason. Just because he could. How sad is that?
The lovers of God will have more than enough, but the wicked will always lack what they crave.
I find it surprising that as long as I've lived, I've never laughed. Well, there were times when the finances were tight, but we always knew God was going to be our provision. And He always came through, even fulfilling some of our greatest dreams. I always dreamt as a kid of being a rich person that could retire to Florida. And haha, here I am in Florida. Well, I guess God considered me one of his rich kids, and I'm so grateful for that. So, the essence of today's passage, which I would like to impart to you, is walk in his love, be benevolent, be generous, don't hold back, and watch what God will do. Don't worry about what the wicked are doing. It's not your business, that's his. But you walk in his righteousness. God bless you and go with you. It's, honey, you want to say something?
Yes, I want to say this. We are rich in the sense that we have our needs met, more than our needs met.
Yeah.
But we're not like super rich. So I don't want to cast a stumbling block in front of somebody that might have a hard time with that because I have to admit to myself that when I hear about like super rich preachers and stuff, I have to, you know, hit myself on the hand and say, that's not your business. So I don't want to cast a stumbling block. We have our needs met. But, you won't go, wow, if you see our house.
Yes. Let's put it this way. We live in 1,100 square feet, a one two-bedroom house in Central Florida, and we are very happy with it. For us, that's a mansion. We're not talking about the silliness of some of these TV evangelists. I'm sorry. I have no need for 12 or 34 rooms. One bedroom and a music room is more than sufficient for us. And that's what we mean by we're rich. We're rich in the Lord and in what He's provided.
And there again, it's not up to us to look at other people.
No.
Uh, that's between them and God. But I just didn't want to cast a stumbling block in your way.
And with that, my friends, God bless you and go with you. this day.
According to his riches, according to his riches, according to his riches, he will supply all I need. His riches have no limit. His riches have no limit. His riches have no limit. He will supply all I need. I'll put my trust in Jesus. I'll put my trust in Jesus. I'll put my trust in Jesus. He will supply all I need. According to his riches, according to his riches, according to his riches, he will supply all